I don't see my title in there. There you go, good. Hi, my name is Raquel. In order to buy or sell, you have to have the money of the beast on your mind or in your hands. One of those words they don't translate correctly in the apocalypse. I've been watching this Occupy Wall Street thing. They had a big demonstration yesterday, and a bunch of people got arrested, and some of them got thrown in jail, and they got thrown out of the park in New York City. But there's the charagma, and it's no one buys or sells, the context. And they don't translate this word charagma correctly. The mark of the beast is money. And you can see the charagma there, and then the definition means the impress on the coin, or then the second definition means stamp money coin. So it kind of, over the centuries, words change a lot. And at one time it meant stamped document. That was in the 1st century AD. Then it meant the brand on the camel in the 2nd century of AD. But at the time that the Book of Revelations was written, this Antipater Thessalonius lived around the 1st century before Christ. And then this guy Plutarch lived around 46. And so he was living right around the time the Book of Revelations was written. And that's what it meant. And Nero's picture was on the coins. So if you take the Hebrew letters for Nero's name, and A equals 1 and B equals 2, and like F would equal 10, and then it'll add up to 666. So that's where that comes from. And a variant reading, if it's spelled in Latin or something, it comes out 616. Kind of, they have a different translation that says that. So I have all this stuff up on my website. Whoops. That's like my old campaign brochure with my previous name on there. Well, I can't really show it to you without showing my name, but it's on my website. You can see it up there. But anyway, this Wall Street thing, I'm kind of hoping that they can make some kind of a statement about the future. We need to start thinking about the future with all these catastrophes coming at us all at once. We've got the global warming that a lot of people don't believe, but you can see the Northwest Passage is finally opened up. I left that, where is it? And they can get ships through there now without having to plow it very much. And so it's going to raise faster up there. There was an article in The Guardian that was saying that giving various different scenarios for the climate change, it can become irreversible if things really don't change. Our Arizona governor is no longer in the western states pollution control. They should pull out of that because it's going to cost a lot of money, and we don't have the money, so they're just going to continue polluting and leave it for the next generation to deal with the sea levels rising and all these tornadoes and hurricanes and floods and everything, the droughts. It's that's one portion of the apocalypse, and then you've got geometric world population growth, which is another. It's all just so unsustainable. You can see how it's just shot up so much. Here's that's 1492, 1776. There was 1 billion people, more or less. It's not quite accurate, but and then you can see in 1946 there was 2 billion people, and then like my dad was born in 1927, so he's really seen the world change a lot, and it has. It was a real different in the 70s, in the 60s, like this Vietnam War. A lot of my high school friends were in the Vietnam War, and a lot of them came back kind of crazy, and one of them was like addicted to heroin. Well, not addicted, but he used heroin over there, and he had a complete different vocabulary. But then we've got the funny money Wall Street games with this derivatives and credit default swaps and things like that they suckered people into buying. And that's kind of what I'm going through in my business. These people got suckered into buying these improvement liens to develop these vacant lots. And I own the lots, but I didn't have the money to pay to get the lots developed. So the members of the HOA, the board members that own the majority of the lots, found some people. I don't know where they found them, but I'm going to have to talk to them and ask them to remove these improvement district liens on my lots because it's expired. They were supposed to complete the building in 3 years, or before then. It's been 8 years, and so the liens expired, and I gotta talk to these people to get these off and hopefully sell them. But this economy has gotten so bad, these lots I was expecting to become a millionaire, the way the housing thing was going, and these people thought it would too, and that's why they bought these improvement district liens. Some of them are for like not a district, it's improvement liens on vacant lots. The city improvement district liens are kind of a funny thing too. I bought one once for like $350, and if you send the person a certified letter, well, it doesn't even have to be certified. You just have to have proof of mailing that you mailed one of these forms. I made a form out, and it said like notice, pay your improvement district lien, and I wrote the number down and told them who to call and everything. And if they didn't do that within 30 days, then you get a deed to the property. So I got this guy's house for like $350. And I never even went down there to look at it. I just saw that it belonged to a married man. He was kind of old. He owned it free and clear. If a bank owned it, I would have gotten it from the bank. And I was chasing this bank around once. Well, it's this MERS, and that's what's causing all the trouble. It's like a MERS is a holding company that holds all these deeds and everything. To keep track of them and records and everything, so they flip it around and you can't tell who the real owner is. So I was just a couple days away from getting this property from the bank, but they ended up paying it off a couple of days before. So, but this guy, I ended up giving his house back to him. He called me like 2 years later. I was paying the property taxes on it, and I said, okay. I didn't, I thought maybe it was just an old couple or something. I didn't know what to think. I just didn't know what to think, and I just let it go for a while to see what would happen. And he called me about 2 years later and said, hey, you got my house? And I said, yeah, I know, and I'll give it back to you if you just pay the taxes that I've paid on here. And I made him pay like $1,000 more. But I know there was some people that would have thrown him out for $300. But anyway, I've been on this Occupy Wall Street forum, and they have a lot of trolls and people on there that kind of ruin it, but there's some pretty good ideas. It's unfortunate that not enough people think about them, though. Most of the things on there are kind of mediocre. They want to get money out of politics. And like in Plato's Republic, the guardians weren't allowed to touch gold and silver. they were aristocrats, and Plato considered democracy one level above tyranny. And that's kind of the problem we have here, is so many of these people that vote just aren't educated. They don't believe in global warming, and they don't believe that the climate's changing, or some of them, believe Jesus Christ literally rose from the dead, but it's just not a fact. It's just not something that really happened. And the fundamentalists, I had a chart once that showed what percentage of the United States voters consider themselves fundamentalist, which means, they believe the Bible literally, that Jesus walked on water and did all these things. But I don't even believe he existed, and a lot of other people don't either. So Jesus was a radical and upset the tables of the money changers and told his disciples to go forth without money, and he said that you can't serve God or money. That's another one of those words that don't translate correctly. Mammon is an Aramaic word for money. It's also a Hebrew word for money. And some Christians that I tell this to, they just get really upset. They just can't accept it. And then they always talk about St. Paul. He's the one who says, they always say, well, it's the love of money. But Jesus said that you either love money or you can't serve God or mammon. You either love the one or hate the other. So you got to hate money. And Jesus sent his disciples out without money in their purses, and he upset the tables of the money changers. And that's what Jesus would do if he came back today. He would be down there on Wall Street, but they've got it so tightened off there you can't get in there, and so that Jesus went in there with a sword, or maybe they didn't bring swords in there, I don't remember, but Jesus said a lot about swords in there. But I think this St. Paul guy is Antichrist, because the things he says just aren't logical. The etymology of the word logic is logos, and the Greek word logos. The New Testament is written in Greek. So in the book of John 1:1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But they don't translate that right. It's the logos, and logos means reasoning, they say it rarely means word. So you've got a lot of irrational people, and they're all over the world. I mean, even these Muslims are very irrational. They go to this tourist trap called Mecca, and they take turns throwing stones at these pillars, which is symbolic of the devil. I think just all the organized religions, even the Buddhists are really superstitious. When I was in Thailand, they got bird cages and would let the birds out, and it's supposed to be a blessing to do that. I mean, somebody caught the birds, or they raised them. Maybe they raised them and they're going to let them go or something. But if we could eliminate money, this is something I was thinking about, because there was a thread at this Occupy Wall Street forum. Some other person started it, and it was about jobs. They're saying I don't know how he said it, but I turned it around and he agreed with me that there's with modern machinery, life is supposed to be simple. We shouldn't have to work this hard or that long, and we shouldn't have to worry about unemployment or being unemployed. I mean, you should be able to do what you want. And so this is like the original version of the gospel of eliminating money, and this is the unedited, unabridged version. And I've taken a lot of quotes, and there's a bunch of pages on here, but this one is all about, I cut all these things out from the census the United States Census. In 1980 I did this, and I carefully got all these numbers and lined them all up, because I photocopied this. That's the way I did things back then. And I reduced it to fit on there. And so what we have is, I put an X for ones that would be at 100% reductions in the workforce. There it is. And so, I mean, like, there's a whole bunch of unnecessary jobs. Like, we would reduce bankers 100%, and there's 531,000 bankers. And these are billing clerks. There's 136,000 of them. There's almost 1 million cashiers. Oh no, there's more than 1 million. 1.5 million cashiers. So all these people could be, their jobs could be eliminated. And I don't know, we've got fast food workers and stuff like that could be, that don't really have to work. But I didn't reduce a lot of these because the restaurants could be changed into something else and those people could work. So anyway, the bottom line is that I figured we could have a 45% reduction of all the, 45% of the people in the United States work at unnecessary jobs. That's almost half of them. And then I did some research here about how many people produce the food. This is a table from the Census of Agriculture, and it shows that in 1980 there were 1.2 million people in the livestock industry. So, and then there's a total of 4 million agriculture workers. So 1/4 of all the people that work on farms have to do with cows and stuff like that. And then we have 244,000 people working in hay and forage, and then 216,000 people make tobacco. And fruits and vegetables is only 314,000. These are total hours. It's not people, actually. Total labor hours for all these things. But anyway, so, you know, if we all took our turns doing various jobs, like working on farms or working in construction, there's only like 4 million construction workers, and a lot of them build roads. We shouldn't be building roads, we should be building railroads. And we could hook up passenger cars to these freight trains and get around. You know, we don't have to have our own cars. And the way the cities are designed too is like they cut it up into little boxes, and they call them blocks. And then each person has a lot there and more little boxes. But like ecologically designed city, or feng shui, whatever you want to call it, would be like a circle. And then in the middle would be like empty space, and people could grow gardens back there, and maybe you could have a pavilion in the middle, or you could even have like a community cafeteria in the middle, and each one would be different. And like if we had all this free time, since we wouldn't have to be slaves to the bankers. I mean, these sheetrock and 2x4 homes aren't that expensive to make. It's really cheap. But it doesn't last very long. Like if you go to Europe, you can see these wonderfully built buildings. That's because they had a lot of time back in the Middle Ages, and they didn't have anything else to do. So they'd get together and build cathedrals and nice things. But now everybody's a slave to money. 30 years of indentured slavery to buy a house. I was just talking to one of my friends. When we were kids, one of my older friends said to me, yeah, you know, my mom has lived there for 15 years in that apartment, and she's paid way over the amount that the apartment is worth in rent there. You know, I mean, I don't know why they didn't have condominiums back then. It was just kind of starting out. There were a few, and there was a real nice one down the street, actually. But now, actually, those are all condominiums where I used to live. But like these, you get ripped off in these HOAs, and that's what's going on with me right now. There's a HOA made up of all these vacant lots, and it's just not the way the HOAs are supposed to be. They're supposed to start them when there's houses there. But anyway, that's the business I'm in, and I've got to figure out a way to get out of these liens. I was going to build houses out there myself, but these developers came along and bought up all the other vacant lots. It's a long story. I should probably write a book about it, because the National Bank of Arizona lost, what was it, $35 million on this deal. And these majority lot owners borrowed a bunch of money, and there was like, one of these guys from KV Homes came to one of our HOA meetings once, and he told us, hey, they're charging you way too much. These are these improvement district liens that I'm talking about. They're improvement liens on these vacant lots. And so they sold them to their friends, but they're charging way too much. They were charging like, they'd vary the price, because labor and materials started going up. But I think the first one was like $22,000 to develop the lot, and then you could sell it for $35,000 or $37,000, and the price went up pretty much to like $40,000 during the boom. And so if you couldn't afford to pay the $26,000, somebody would buy a lien on it. And when the house was completed, you had to pay them back 10% interest. So I might have made maybe $20,000 on each of these lots, and I have 50 lots. So what would be 50 times 20,000? That's how much money I was going to make off these vacant lots. But the economy went bad. I mean, that would have been a lot of houses to do all that. And I don't see why these people would do this. They bought $5,000 liens on some of these lots. There was like 1,800 lots in this subdivision, and some people bought these $5,000 liens. One of these guys in this whole thing lost $1 million. He bought these liens, and I met him at one of these HOA meetings, and maybe Mr. Bennett. What is that? There is a Mr. Bennett involved, but it's a family trust, and they invested the Morris Family Trust. They invested more than $1 million on these liens that are never going to be paid because they're expired. So, but I can't sell the lots with these liens, so I gotta get them removed. Okay, so I could write a book about it. I bought these lots like 20 years ago, when they were really inexpensive, and it's out there near that Rosemont mine. I just found out though that the mine is going to be on the eastern half of those Santa Rita Mountains, so people living west of it won't see it unless they start building, exploring on the other side and happen to find some. They're saying they're not going to do that, but once they get started, they're going to probably just be able to take the whole mountain out of there. And that's a good question, is, what are the prospects over there for ore? I mean, have they shown anybody? I'd kind of wonder if there's copper on the other side of that mountain too. And if they take that down, it's going to really change the landscape of everything around there. And look really ugly, and you're going to hear this noise of everything. And, it's not very nice because it's next to mine. I've seen these mines up near Superior, Arizona. The one in Ajo, the one in Green Valley, you've got this huge sludge everywhere, all over the place. The one going into Ajo is really ugly. But anyway, my name is Raquel. Oh, and the Superior, Arizona got polluted. One of these dams broke and washed everything down, and so the whole, anyway, bye.